And we are going to do another problem with propagating bias uncertainty and calculating the total uncertainty in a measurement. So in this example, we are going to look at the uniaxial tension test. So hopefully people remember from material science, if I have material like this, and then this, if I pull my material here and here, we are going to measure essentially the stress in our block of material. So hopefully you remember that stress is a tensor quantity, sigma 1, 1, sigma 1, 2, sigma 1, 3. And if I have my coordinate system like this, 2, 1, sigma 1, 2, because we are symmetric, sigma 2, 2, sigma 2, 3, and then I always forget to do that, sigma 1, 3, sigma 2, 3, sigma 3, 3. If we're in our uniaxial tension test, I just have stress in the 1, 1 direction, so every other component here is 0. And if that is the case, I can basically use the relationship for Hooke's law, the only time you could use Hooke's law here. And we have our general relationship that stress is equal to force per unit area. So just a little bit of material science background. I can't help myself. I'm always going to talk about material. So, but this is the fundamental equation that we'll be working with in this problem. So let's kind of erase that for a second. So stress is force per unit area, and that is going to be in units of Newton per meter squared. So we want Newton per meter squared, which is equivalent to Pascal. So anyways, let's read actually the problem, what we're asking. So I'm trying to measure the stress in a rectangular block of aluminum under uniaxial tension. So I have a rectangular block. So here, 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 here. So I repeat the experiment 14 times. So, and I find that the force to exhibit a mean of 48.9 newtons and a standard deviation of 3.24 newtons, I assume. I measure the length of my block and width 14 times, and so length and width. So the length of my block here, and then the width of my block here, and I'm pulling my material in this direction here. So again, this area is the cross-sectional area. So that would be my cross-sectional area here. Area equals length times width. So I have, so I measured my length of my block and width 14 times as well, found a mean width of 0.1 meters and standard deviation of 0.01. The length had a mean of 0.5 and a standard deviation of 0.2. I measured the length and width with a micrometer, and the force applied is plus or minus 1 Newton. What is the total uncertainty in my stress? So again, let's break down this problem step by step. So will we have precision error, bias error, or both? So we will have both precision error and bias error in this problem. So let's see where we can identify this. So precision error, what was our kind of key words? So we were saying if we're given like the number of samples or list of data or a standard deviation, we can assume that we are going to have precision error here. So we have multiple measurements in this problem. So we've made multiple measurements and we're given standard deviations. So we will definitely have a bias error. Additionally, precision error. We'll also have bias error because in this problem we say we measure the length and width with a micrometer. So there's some uncertainty associated with this tool right here. And we're also given that that force, we're given some uncertainty in the force. So the force applied is going to be plus or minus 1 Newton. So there's some uncertainty with a force. So we are trying to find the total uncertainty U sub sigma of our stress equation. So stress is equal to this force per unit area. So let's define the equation that we're working with in this problem. So I already kind of broke down our tensor notation, et cetera, et cetera. But our function is this. So we have sigma as a function of my force, my length, my width. So I have 3 independent variables. So I'm going to have to take 3 partials. So at this point, we have a couple options on how we want to approach the problem. So you could go directly into the partials and calculate their precision error, but I would suggest always dealing with precision error first. And then we want to express this in terms of the precision error in terms of percent. Why do we want to do that? Because from this problem statement, I measure, there's going to be some uncertainty associated with my force measurement, plus or minus 1 Newton. So the uncertainty in force is 1 Newton. There's also going to be some uncertainty in my length, which is going to be equivalent to my uncertainty in my width, because I use the same tool. And a micrometer, I have a resolution of plus or minus 1 micrometer, 1 times 10 to the minus 6 meters. So there's some uncertainty here, and that's what we're going to kind of deal with our bias there. But we're also given, again, the number of experiments each time and our standard deviation for, there's going to be some precision error effectively in our force, some precision error in our length, and precision error in our width. So when we look at the total uncertainty, so U of sigma, a measurement, we're going to have some bias error in our sigma, plus precision error in our force, plus precision error in our length, and plus precision error in our width. So I know that my precision error equation generally, precision error in some measure at x is going to be p over 2 nu times s sub x over square root of n. So what is going to be the dimensions of my, square. What are going to be the dimensions of my p sub w? Well, my p sub w, the standard deviation, is given in units of meters. That does not gel. If we do our bias error calculation, that is going to give us a bias error in pascals, or Newton per meter squared. So we need to convert everything into percentages. Whenever you have precision error, we have to convert into percentages or fractions. We'll deal with that later. So I always want to deal with precision error first, but you could also attack this first by looking at bias error as well. So let's calculate precision error. Well, I know I want to work, we're not kind of told what confidence interval to work with, so I'm going to choose an alpha equal to 0.05. That's my confidence interval. I want my two-sided confidence interval, so that's going to be alpha over 2. Again, as denoted in this question. We are told in this problem that the number of force, length, and width measurements are all n equals 14. So luckily I could use the same t values. So t of alpha over 2, 0.25, a nu, or nu is equal to n minus 1. So nu of 13. Let's go ahead and look at that value in lecture 3, presentation. So 205, t 0.25, and then the nu of 13, so 2.16. And let's look back at my Mathematica notebook. I'm calculating the mean force, exactly, 2.16. Excellent. That looks really, really nice. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves. So looking back at this equation here, lecture 5, excuse me, all the way down. So when I look at this, so I know this is 2.160, and then standard deviation is given in the problem statement, and I know that n is equal to 14. So I can calculate my precision here, and we can do that in that method we saw previously. So I have these are my list of data, the raw data. So I can calculate standard deviation. This is the same as what's given in the problem statement. Luckily, again, we're all in meters, so be careful if you're given other values. So I want to calculate, and again, it's just t alpha over 2, standard deviation, square root of n, just as given in this expression. But we want to work in percentages, so we have to divide out by the nominal value. The nominal value will just be, again, your x bar. So my average force, my average width, and my average length. So this is basically the fraction. So this is, if I want to multiply this by percent, it'd be 3.8%, or 6.2%, or 2.2%. So that's what we're dealing with here. So that is precision error taken care of. It's all done and shown right here. So I'm ready to plug and chug that into that expression a little bit later on. So now I can get to calculating my bias error. So we showed previously the uncertainty in length, width, and force. So this is given to us in plus or minus. So this is 1 Newton. These are 1 micrometer. I can take my partials, or I can divide out. So I know my expression here. So let's look a little bit down here. So I know my unit of stress is Pascal, so it's basically stress is force times width. So I know that my d sigma df is just equal to my 1 over length times width. I know my d sigma d, and then if I divide that by sigma, as which is done here, so dividing by sigma is equivalent to multiplying it on the top, so for the inverse, so length times width over force, and that's why we get this. Again, this times my uncertainty leads to this expression right here. And I could do the same thing for length. That's going to be equal to, again, minus, actually we'll go ahead and take care of it in here. You could do these in Mathematica, minus force length squared, and then plugging everything into here, we obtain essentially the same expression that we see in the notes. So this inverse relationship. I've kind of gotten rid of the negative values. So technically, if you look into here, there would be these kind of negative values in there, but once they get squared, there's no worries. So technically, it should have a negative in here, but it's not going to matter in the end. So if I then, as we go look in Mathematica, if I plug and chug into this expression here, just by, again, nominal values of force, uncertainties in length and width and force, I'll see that my bias error and stress, again, this is a fraction. So if it was in percentage, multiplied by 100, 2%. So my total uncertainty is just going to be now square root of my bias stresses here, just like we saw above, my precision error and force, precision error and length, precision error and width, which we've defined up here, plugging in for those values, and you'll see that we get approximately 7.93%. So that's it. Again, precision error first, and we have actually a little protocol here. So this would be my suggested protocol or suggested algorithm or framework for calculating total uncertainty. Do we have bias error, precision error, or both? Figure that out and identify key variables. So what is n? What is the uncertainty? What is my standard deviation? For each variable, and figure out your fundamental. Actually, write out your fundamental equation, what you're trying to calculate, and then the number of independent variables. Write out your known quantities, just like we said, means, uncertainty, standard deviations. Start with precision error first, if there is some, and convert it to percentages or fractions. If not, just skip to step 5, take partials, calculate bias error, convert to percentage or fraction, combine, and you'll get total uncertainty. All this protocol, you'll never kind of run into any issues, hopefully. So this is it. I mean, it's, again, we went to that pretty quickly, but that's the protocol that you want to kind of follow. So it's the key kind of step here is reading that problem statement, figuring out the equation, and figuring out everything that's given to you in the problem, and then working through the math. But once you have that, everything else will kind of take care of itself. So this step is critical. Step 1 is critical. Step 2 is critical. Step 3 is critical. After that, just kind of your math. And hopefully you remember all of your T alphas and kind of that statistical analysis from what we've kind of done previously. So that's about it. I hope that's helped. We'll do some more problems in class, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to do some more videos and examples. Thanks. Have a good one. I'll see you next time. Bye.